the Lui Diaz Podcast.
Do you want to just go?
Yeah, man. I saw your name Diaz, and every time I see that name, it reminds me of the Diaz brothers.
Diaz.
The UFC.
Yeah. Are you a UFC fan?
Not really a big fan, but like I watch it and I find it entertaining. But if I miss a fight, I don't go crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I don't go, oh no, my life's over, I can't.
I was like that at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, need to watch UFC 257, you know, like.
Dude, I try not to get too hooked on anything, you know, even soccer. Africans and my friends were very well known to be like big soccer fans, especially growing up. That's all you had access to, and that's what brought everyone together. It's like a community thing. And so when we come here, everyone's already got their own teams and all that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had friends who stopped being friends with others because of different teams. And so it's like, I try not to get that addicted to it.
That's too far, man.
Yeah. And they fight, man. I see them fighting. I'm like, what are you fighting about? Who said my team is shit? I'm
Soccer.
like, what?
Yeah. Someone said my podcast was shit. I said, thank you.
Yeah. It's good. It's the best way to handle it, man. It's not to take it seriously. What's that saying? He who cares less wins. So
I like
if
that.
you care less, you're like, whatever. I'm just going to go on with my day.
Yeah.
And you end up getting the better end of the stick.
I like that. Maybe I should do an intro before we
go
get too
for
carried
it.
away.
Yeah.
We're ready. All right, fine. By the way, I'm a little hungover. So,
Nice.
But thank you for the coffee. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Lui Diaz Podcast. You know, I'm so stoked. I have Joe White here, a Melbourne comedian. You're Melburnian, right?
Yeah, I'm Melbournian now. I've been here for about 2 years, but originally from Perth, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
West Coast.
I saw Joe perform at the Comics Lounge on Tuesday night, and I laughed my ass off. And I couldn't help, but I just had to ask you if you wanted to be on the podcast, and you were like, yeah, I'm down, let's do it.
I didn't want to be, but you cornered me.
I cornered you.
You cornered me. I was like, what's that poking me in the ribs? Oh, it's a knife. All right, I'll do your podcast.
I corner everyone. Yeah.
No, that was fun, man. You had good energy, good vibes about you. You seemed genuine, and so I thought, doesn't matter. I'll do the podcast. You know.
Yeah, I'm faking it. I'm a fake motherfucker.
Nah, man. Everyone's faking it. No one knows who their real self is. You know. You only know who you truly are when you're like close to your deathbed, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna not care anymore. This is who I am.
You know, we've been recording for like 3 minutes now. We're already deep philosophical. I like this.
Yeah, I like being philosophical, man. That's my vibe when I'm not performing or out drinking, and you know, because people see you perform and they go, oh, let's hang. You know, you're gonna be funny, blah blah blah, and then they sit with you and you're there going, what is the meaning of life? You know?
Oh, this is good.
They go, this is sad.
Well, yeah, let's set the audience up a little bit. Obviously, you're a comedian, and I guess the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast was because I'm fascinated with your story, your background, your rise into comedy and all
Thanks,
that. So we're
man.
going to cover that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to have a bit of banter as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's all part of the hang.
But yeah, thanks for the compliment. And yeah, before I introduced you, I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this in or not, but you were talking about my surname reminded you of the Diaz brothers.
Yeah.
Yes,
UFC.
I do have that violent streak in me, and yes, that was a knife I was holding to your back.
Why do you think I said yes? Yeah. I'm like, this guy looks dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know why you look so worried when you were saying yes.
I just looked at you and I went, this guy looks like he's either part of the underworld or knows people in the underworld. So whatever he wants, I'm going to have to think twice before I say no.
Just say
So
yes.
when you said, can you do my podcast? I went, yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
said yes so quickly. I was like, oh, wow, that was easy.
Yeah.
Thank
I was
you.
like, I don't want to disappear.
I didn't realize. Actually, someone told me the other day that I look intimidating.
Not in a bad way, like in a cool way.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Okay.
let's just say if I wanted a bag of cocaine, I'd call you. You look like that guy that knows where to get it from.
If that was true,
Yeah.
I really could have used that skill last night. One of my friends
Oh,
from
you're out?
Europe was playing a big show here.
Of course,
in
you
Melbourne.
know people from Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the good stuff comes from.
Yeah.
One of your connections, not your friends.
Yeah,
was here.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I was like, I haven't been clubbing in so long.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how do you go clubbing without drugs? It's just weird.
Ah, man. I bloody hate clubbing now. But I think it's because I just did too much of it.
Did
you?
you?
Know? Yeah, I used to just club all night with my friends. And
How old are you?
we used to have such a great time. Man, how old do you think I am?
Oh,
Take
man,
a guess.
you look young. Like, you
Take a
got good
guess.
skin. Like, it's definitely genetic. So
Take a guess.
I'm going to say that based on looks alone, I'm going to say that you look 32. But but 33. But based on your maturity level and the deep and meaningful philosophicalness of you, I could say that you're
101.
Could be up to 42.
Oh, damn, 42. Man, I'm leaving. Why did I say yes?
Oh, no, that wasn't
This is
supposed to
the worst
be.
start to my
What
day.
are you-
38.
38. Okay.
Turning 39 on Valentine's Day. I stopped partying hard and drinking hard and all that probably when I started comedy 10 years ago.
Yeah, so you started 10 years ago.
About 9.5, but yeah, I just because I got consumed into the comedy world, and everything was comedy. My friends were in the comedy game. Every late night event was a comedy show or a comedy bar. You know, when my other mates were like, "Oh, do you want to come clubbing?" It's just, and I'd go clubbing. It just didn't feel right, you know. And I didn't feel physically I was there, but mentally I was like, "What comedy show's on tonight?" So I just got pulled deeper and deeper into the comedy world. So that's where I just started spending my time and energy and And you know what? It's you start thinking like you're missing out on life, but it's a nice beat coming through. This is what happens when you podcast on the street.
Yeah.
He's looking at me like, "Hey man, can I join you?" "No, keep walking, brother." This is the people I grew up with.
Yeah, right. Altona, I saw.
No, I didn't grow up in Altona.
No.
I grew up in Perth,
That's
Girraween,
right.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And anyone from Perth would tell you Girraween is like the ghetto of the north, yeah.
Okay. It's ghetto-esque in here sometimes. We get some like fancy people walking through, like really well dressed.
This is Girraween vibes, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Girraween. Never been
so
there.
It doesn't worry me, but I just look at him and I go, "Yeah, you remind me of the people I grew up around."
Yeah.
So yeah, what was I saying? I was talking about.
You were talking about clubbing. You were talking about like you started comedy 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And when you started comedy, it no longer felt right to continue investing time in anything but comedy.
Yeah, that's all.
Makes sense.
I don't know. For like a period of probably 6 years, it was all just comedy, and I wasn't fun to hang out with outside of comedy because all I thought about was comedy, and all I wanted to do was comedy,
Obsessed.
talk comedy. Yeah. So you know, I did lose a few friends because I isolated myself. But yeah, it's part of the norm, isn't it? When you
Absolutely. And same with this, you know. "Oh, Louis, what are you doing this weekend?" Another podcast.
yeah.
Sorry, bros. You know, like if I had to choose between staying in my same life and going for my new life, I'm going to go to the new life and see how far I can get, you know,
Yeah.
and see where it takes me.
I bet now your phone rings every Saturday night 100 times and you're just like, "I'm not in it anymore, I'm podcasting." "You can't be my guest." "You speak too fast." "You gotta go through rehab and then come be my guest."
Yeah.
That's the vibe. That's the conversations you have on Saturday night.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, so
It's 2 a.m.
I'm all about comedy now, but 10 years in, I feel like I'm going through a phase, or close to 10 years in, I'm going through a phase now where the last probably 2 years, I've just dialed it back down a bit, and I'm starting to enjoy life more outside of comedy, not just be comedy. And I mean, that's great, and that's how you become successful, but you know, you don't want to be successful and then depressed about it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't want to lose good friends in the process of trying to be successful. I want to see if I can bring some of them with me and continue building that relationship with them by having fun and doing things that we both connect on. So
Yeah, I think I can relate to that. You know, I was talking to another comedian yesterday, and he's only been in the game 14 months, and he's from the UK. And so, you know, he was reflecting on the fact that he's deeply immersed in comedy, and he doesn't have the outlet of the family and friends that he would have back home
yeah,
to sort of give him that break from being in the scene. And I was like, yeah, but, you know, like if you ever want to do something or strive for something or achieve something in life, there's got to be a period of full immersion. I think 6 years is probably a bit OTT.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I got hooked, man.
yeah, but you would have made new friends in comedy, surely.
Oh, I did, but like no one I would consider like a best friend. You know what I mean? Like 6 years in, 5 years in, I didn't really have a best friend in comedy. It was because comedy it's such an individualistic thing, you know, where people are like, yeah, I want to write the next best joke. I want to be on stage. I want to be famous. And, you know, oh, if I put someone forward for this spot, oh, I might miss out. They're going to get, you know, what's mine. And I don't want that. I want to make sure I get it all first, you know. So there is me, and I want to be on stage and look at me. I'm super funny. I'm the funniest on the bill. So it's not like a community where everyone comes together
That's interesting.
in like a, I don't know,
Supportive
man.
way.
Yeah, I mean, you do find it, don't get me wrong, but it takes forever. Like, no, I'm 9 years in now, 9.5 going into 10 years, but I probably have about 5 comedians that I would consider like, oh yeah, these guys are like my boys, you know?
Yeah, nice.
Like, I would hang with them and I would call
5's
them,
good.
and 5 is good,
That's
yeah.
a good number.
But that's not 5 years in, you know? That's more like it's 9.5 or so years in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a long time to to make 5.
And I think, 15, 20 years in, you'll have a crew of people where you're like, yeah, these are my boys, you do podcasts with them, you have a good time. And I think a lot of it is because you start to care less about thinking, oh no, I'm the funniest, or I want to get on this stage. And it's all about, man, if you want to be like, we're all funny in our own way. You start to mature, I guess.
Yeah.
And you start to see it from a different angle. Like, this is just a thing that we do
Yeah.
at night. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not our life,
This is just a journey that we're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But you said you started in comedy 9.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Can't wait to say 10 years ago. It'll make it easier.
So years ago. It's like when I had my kid and I was like, she's 6 months old.
Oh, you got a
she's
kid?
7 months old.
Nice.
She's 15 months old. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, can I just say 2 already?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But no, she's 16 now. So it's way easier.
16 what?
Years.
You've got a 16-year-old?
I got a 16-year-old.
Man.
Yeah, shout out to my kid.
You do not look like you've got a 16-year-old.
Well,
you look young as hell, which is pretty good. It's because you haven't aged yet. That's what it is.
Top one early Are you kidding me? Look at these greys.
You got
Look at
grey
these
hairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a couple of greys, but not enough for a 16-year-old.
For real greys. No,
That's
she's
pretty
the
cool.
ready the greys are there.
Man,
No.
I bet you're a
That's not
fun
true.
dad. Eh?
You know what? It's funny that you say that because I always wanted to, like, ever since she was born, I was like, all right, how do you do this parenting thing so that like your kid really likes you?
Yeah.
So that they think you're cool, so that they like respect you and they want to hang out with you. That's kind of the goal, the vision. And I was like, oh, probably a good way of making sure that happens is like being cool. Like,
Yeah.
go and be a cool dad that she's proud to speak about, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought this guy was going to get run over by that car. And
That would have made you go viral. A man died on Hosier
can you
Lane.
just lay down and bleed for a bit.
Next to this podcast.
Yeah. And she, and so then I went and wrote a children's book, right?
You're an
Published it.
author as well?
Yeah,
Jesus.
And then after that,
And here I am just labeling you as a drug cocaine dealer. Meanwhile, you're an author with a 16-year-old. That's pretty cool, man.
I know. We're going to
Wow.
unwrap some of the preconceived notions, I suppose, of yours. But then I taught people how to skateboard. I used to teach skateboarding lessons on
There's
Secure
that
Beach.
coolness kicking in now.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's where you get that. You dress like you could be like
Bit of a hipster.
Yeah, hipster. That's it.
Yeah, sure. That's the Melbourne thing, though, right?
Yeah, that's true. You fit in so well, man.
Yeah, exactly. With my pocket knife, coming to comedians in comedy clubs, going fucking be on my podcast.
Dude, oh man, that's hectic.
But then, yeah, it's funny because I saw this clip online the other day where there's this guy who's actually really fucking cool. And I can't remember who he was. Maybe
Joe White. Yeah. God.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Joe White. No, I saw this guy and he's actually a parent. Like, he's a pro surfer or something like that. One of those cool people that you're like, that's a cool life. I wish I had this guy's life. And he was talking about how it doesn't matter how cool you are or how interesting you are, your kids are always going to be like, oh, Dad.
Yeah.
You're always going to be embarrassing to them in some way.
That's
and that
so
is
true,
such a fact.
Yeah, I was listening to Dave Chappelle, and he was talking about his kids and his home life, and he reckons every time he goes on tour and he comes back, and they're like, oh, here comes this guy again who's hardly around, So Chris Rock had the same sort of story as well.
Yeah, right.
So I guess, and Bill Burr as well. So we look at these guys and we're like,
Bill Burr.
arena comics,
Yeah.
But then they go home, they're just another boring dad to their kids, or
Which,
cool dad to their kids.
honestly, which is great. Like, I love that there's a place where you can come to where you're humbled.
Yeah.
And where you're like, doesn't matter how big and cool you get, like, you fucking are doing the dishes.
Yeah, well,
you got to take out the trash.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, that's the base. Because I was thinking about it. I went to America 2 years ago, and I went to. I wanted to go to LA. I wanted to go to the entertainment capital of
For
the
sure.
world, right? And I thought, you hear a lot of the stories of people going there to try and break through or be famous, and you hear how their life gets derailed, and they sell their soul to to the devil, or they, which is analogy for obviously they give into the entertainment industry.
Is it an analogy?
They go into drugs, and next thing you know, they're working, selling themselves for the next gig or whatever. So I heard about all of that, and I was thinking to myself, it's very important for me to know who I am outside of comedy, who I am as a person, what my morals, my character, and my beliefs are before I even go there, before I leave my base, right?
Yeah.
Who your people are, who your tribe is, because when you leave your base, the further you go away from your base, the more hectic things get. And if you don't know who you truly are and what your base is, then before you know it, you won't find your way back. You'll be a lost soul.
I can relate to that. I think at times in life you sort of go off wandering, exploring new things, and you sort of maybe get a little lost, and you come back and you're like, oh, that's my auntie, the one that knows the food that I like.
Yeah. Strengthening your base is very important, and and you can't do that if you're constantly just comedy.
Yeah.
You gotta have time for other people around you as well and help them.
Right.
Oh, someone's taking a picture.
Yeah.
They're like, what are they doing?
Oh, I did want to know, how did you start in comedy? How did you know that you wanted to be a comedian?
I always knew that I enjoyed making people laugh since I was young. Like every conversation I had with my siblings or with my mom, I'm always trying to get a reaction out of them, and that reaction is laughter, right? Or a smile.
So it's a family thing.
Yeah. I think for me, it started within my family, and we didn't have the best life growing up. We were born in a refugee camp.
You were born in a refugee camp?
Yeah. It's called Tuwawa. It's in Sudan. Right. So born there.
In the refugee
one of
camp?
6. Yeah.
Damn.
One of 6 children.
Which one are you? What number?
I'm middle. I'm a twin. So.
Oh, you're a twin.
Yeah, there's 3 boys, 3 girls. So I'm a twin. And then at the age of probably
crazy,
5, 6 years old, Dad left the family. He became an alcoholic.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, what a loss to him. Because look at us now. We're here.
For real.
We're not in a camp anymore.
I know.
So yeah, when Dad left, we left the refugee camp and went to the capital city for a better life. Turned out to be the worst decision Mum would have made at the time, because we became homeless for 6 months to a year, lived on the streets, and we were going through bins and stuff to try and find food to survive on. Sleeping outside with 6 kids, there's the risk of the elements, but as well as bad people at night trying to kidnap us, and it was horrific, yeah. And from that place, Mum started working, she bought a little pot to boil water with, sugar, tea bags, not tea bags, sorry, actual tea leaves.
Tea leaves.
Yeah. And she started selling tea randomly like this, in other markets or streets. She'll just say, does anyone want tea? And someone will go, yeah, I'll try the tea. And they'll give her whatever money they can afford, and she'll give them tea. And so she'll do this all day, and she'll save that money, and we'll get food with it, or eventually we'll be able to afford to rent someone's veranda or something. And so we'll live in someone's veranda until we can afford to get a house to live inside the house. And then while we were doing all of this, she was doing, cleaning jobs in the middle. She'll sell tea in the markets, and then we will go and beg, and, so it was...
Fucking hell, bro. I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, so through all of that, the way I overcame those traumas was every time my mum would talk to me about how shit today was, I'd be trying to find jokes in there to try and make her laugh. Every time my siblings would go, this happened and we just got injured, I'll be trying to find ways to make them laugh, So it's always been in me. You know what I mean?
Bro, I'm seriously tear-jerking right now.
Group hug. Let's invite some strangers and we'll just hug it out. But
There's a bride over there.
Yeah. So the reason why I told you that is not to make you sad, but it's just to let you know that in times of trauma, comedy has always been there.
Yeah.
Before I even knew I wanted to do it in front of people, I was in my head going, I gotta make my mom happy. I gotta make my brother happy. I gotta make my sisters happy. So when they talk to me, I was always the clown in the family that's gonna potentially make them laugh or cheer them up. And that sometimes attracted people to you. At the time as well, for me to be able to make them laugh, to find the joke in the seriousness of whatever was happening, I had to listen. I had to process the information before I said it to see if there is any funny in it, and if they will laugh or they'll be hurt, because I don't want to hurt them. I want to make them laugh. So I'd break all this information in my head, yeah? And in the process of doing that, I end up being a great therapy session for them.
Yeah, right. Wow.
You know what I mean? They tell me their traumas and I go, I try to make them laugh. If it doesn't work, I just go, what do you think you should do then? And before you know it, I was like that person in the family where they'll come to me for advice or to laugh.
Yeah, or both at the same time.
And this is why comedians, people think comedians are dumb, but no. Good working comedians are smart. They have a great understanding of the world and the view of the world.
Yeah, and my audience would have heard me say this several times. I say it all the time. Whenever I'm talking to a comedian, I think comedians are the greatest, most critical thinkers in society.
Yeah.
Because they have to do what you did.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, quick, figure out how to make this traumatic thing funny.
Yeah, especially if you get heckled. Someone randomly just yells out a heckle and you're like, oh, this killed the mood. I had one 2 weeks ago at the Comics Lounge where the girl was sitting in the front by herself. And I said, oh, you've come to watch a show by yourself? And she said, yeah, I'm not from here. I'm from Japan. I was like, oh, what brings you to Melbourne? She goes, oh, I just flew in to break up with my boyfriend and we just broke up.
Saw that clip.
And I went, oh, well, you know, I'm like, sometimes just accepting that this just happened and it's not the best way to exit a comedy set. People find that funny, you know? And then I just said, oh, how you feeling? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I went, all right, there you go, guys. She's fine. Let's move on now, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, man. You know, like, I'm just going to go back to the bit where I said I was, like, tearing up, and I was. But it wasn't because I was sad.
Yeah.
It was really inspiring to hear, like, your story. Because I was going through your clips, right? And I saw this clip of you, and you were like, oh, people want to know what I do outside of comedy. And you were like, I pick up my mum.
Yeah. Oh, that was a while ago.
I saw that. I saw that. And then you panned to your mum, and she looks so much like you. You look so alike, firstly.
Yeah, they say that, yeah.
And she got the most glorious, beautiful smile. And you got a magnificently beautiful smile as well, man.
I'm taking it already, but thank you.
And you know, I just thought, wow, what joy, what a joyful mother and daughter.
It's Melbourne. You don't know what I identify as, so it could be daughter. So you're not wrong.
Sorry,
but you're not right.
Mother and son. I got daughter on my mind because we brought mine up before, so apologies. But mother and son, like, what great radiant smiles. And like, so having just freshly seen that clip, and then you're telling me about like all of the grind in the background. I'm like, wow, like, how is it possible that these people that have been through so much have such big smiles on their faces?
That's true, eh? You know what? You don't see it when you look at my mom. Even I get fascinated at times when I look at her and see how happy she is and
she looks so
bouncing.
happy.
She's such a people person, and I think, you know, if she grew up in Australia, she'd probably be in the entertainment industry herself and be an actress or an entertainer. You know, she loves it. You can see that she loves it, but because of the way she was brought up, she's like, oh no, that's not for me. But then occasionally when I get the camera out, she's like, oh, she's loving it. She's glowing. She's laughing. She's saying funny things, you know. But they say the people who've been through the most are the ones that are more giving, you know, and don't get very hurt when they miss the bus because they've had it worse in the past, you know, where someone who's never experienced that type of trauma, they miss the bus and they're just like, oh my God, my life's over. I'm going to be 10 minutes late, you know? Yeah, so I look at my mom and I look at what she's been through and I can't, you know, it feels like a different life. And when I tell people what we went through, they just go, what? That lady? I go, yeah, dude, my mom, she can't read, she can't write because she's never had the opportunity to go to school. She ran away from home when her mum died and her dad was a traveling businessman at the age of like 9 years old. He left her with his new wife who had 6 kids, and mum was a 7th child from a different wife. So she wasn't getting the best treatment by her stepmom. She was abusive to her. She'd make her sleep outside, clean after everyone. She won't let her shower. She just treated her like an
Cinderella.
animal. Yeah, pretty much. So mum ran away at the age of 9. And at the time, there was a civil war going on. So if you're a 9-year-old kid, not running away to the next neighborhood, but running away to another country, Sudan, so Ethiopia to Sudan, mate, you're going to face a lot of trauma. And she survived every single trauma thrown at her.
This episode can just be exclusively about your mum, hey?
Dude, mum's a legend. I like sharing her story because I don't want people, like, I don't want her to suffer in silence. You know what I mean? I think for me, that's the worst kind of suffering is when people do that, when they go through something and they don't talk about it, you know? And so when I tell her story and I do it through jokes, people laugh and they want to meet her. They're like, your mum come to your show? And, you know, and she loves it. She sees the videos and she goes, oh, the way you did this bit about this when you were telling this story, you look exactly like me. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing your mannerisms. This is how you are in my eyes, you know? Yeah, so it's pretty cool to be able to give that to her, you know? Like, I'm not rich enough to give her a brand new house or a Ferrari, but what I can do is share her story and make her proud that way.
Dude, that's so beautiful. I love that. You know, I'm sort of reflecting on my own sort of challenges with my family. And, you know, it's really tough, you know, because mum and my brother and I, we've had a lot of emotional ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's like we were too close, you know, and she was just like a kid herself in a way.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, when she had
grew up
you
a
guys?
bit too quick.
Yeah.
Well, she got married at 16.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's young.
And then she had my brother at 21 and me at 24. So, like, relatively
back.
not that young. Like, it's not like she had us straight away, but, you know, I feel like, yeah, she never grew up. And there was a point in her life where she realized, like, her good years are passing her by. And so I felt like a little bit of, she always looked after us, but I felt like a little bit of resentment, like, this is me time. Sorry, boys, I'm going out, you know? And, yeah, there's been a lot of friction, but, you know, I've been trying to reflect on her virtues and the virtues that she instilled in me as well. I've been doing that a lot lately, like this week, you know, just going, oh, I have a good work ethic because of her. I'm creative because of her.
And being a dad, you would know now what it's like to be a parent who wants to do other things but be a parent as well at the same time, you know?
It is different because my kid lives interstate, so I have a long distance relationship with her and we talk a lot on the phone.
Yeah.
Like we're super like tight, like phone relationship, but it did change my perspective, and it wasn't straight away. It wasn't for like till the most recent couple of years where I've gone, oh, okay, this parenting thing is like really a long game. And it's so hard to be perfect, to play perfect. You're going to slip up at some point, you know, and that, or like reveal yourself to be imperfect at some point. It's too hard to play like this role of being like the authority or the father figure without slipping up over a period of 16 years, you know. So,
and you also, like, you don't know, you're a parent for the first time, you know. You've been a kid, but you've never been a parent, right?
Yeah.
And so you think you know how you're going to do it because you've had a parent, you've seen how other people parent, so you're like, I have an idea how I'm going to do it and it's going to be great. But then when you get there and you're like, this kid's always around. This kid, you know, I got to what? For how long?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so
they're watching me.
Yeah, you're feeling it now.
Yeah.
And so you've got your own thing, or, you know, you have to process what's happening, but you can't just leave now, and you got to make the right decisions while also not missing out. You got to live your own life as well.
Yep,
right?
that's true. That's one thing that I've become more conscious of lately is like, you need to live your own life to somewhat leave a legacy for them, inspire them in some way.
I think for you to be a happy parent, you have to make sure you're doing what makes you happy, yeah? Obviously not at the expense of the kid. You got to find the balance.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy, then you're passing that energy, and that kid is always around, oh, dad's miserable.
sure.
You know, my dad growing up, he never took risks, so he was always miserable and he brought that shit home. You don't want that. You want your kid to be like what you said, oh, my dad went this and did this. And
Yeah.
take them with you, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm also very aware that I'm not a parent, and I'm talking about how to make it
Well,
work
yeah,
as a parent.
Well, I was going to ask, like, what's
I don't
going
have
on
kids.
in your
I don't know
world?
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, what about a wife? You got no, there's no ring on your finger.
Not a wife, but I've got a partner. Her
Yeah.
name is Melissa. She's amazing.
Hey, Melissa.
And if you're listening,
Well, she'll be watching.
ignore all the conversations about him saying no ring and all that.
Oh shit. Oh, did I? I'm so sorry.
She's cool. We've been together almost 2 years now. We live together as well. She's Maltese, so that's cool.
Maltese.
I always tell people she only loves me because my head looks like a Malteser. You did hear that bit on stage where I talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's we met while I was in.
I think I saw you talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
Instagram.
something.
Yeah.
Something. Must have been Insta.
You've watched a lot of videos, man.
Dude, I love researching
And
people.
did you watch all my videos in between porn? Because that's very offensive to me.
Actually, I'm off the porn. I've been off it for like 6 months. That's it.
That's pretty good.
Like, I just was like, got to get off this shit.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's
6
bad.
months. Yeah, it's very bad.
It's
Isn't
so
it?
accessible, man. It's
But
fucked. We don't want to go from talking about your girlfriend to that.
Yeah. Terrible segue. This was your segue, not mine.
It wasn't.
I'm a professional segues. I want to segue.
That was you. That was all you. But yeah, look, I watched a few clips. Not as many as I would have wanted, but yeah, I watched a few clips on you. And I love researching people. I love getting to know them and knowing stuff about them.
Well, that's what happens, right? Through podcasting, you get to sit down with people and ask them questions, and they get to tell you their story and stuff like that. I love sharing my story, but I try to find the balance between sharing because there's a lot of like bad stuff that happened in it, and I don't think anyone just decides to wake up one day and be a comedian. There's always some sort of trauma that pushes them to it.
Right, okay.
And when they get on stage, they channel all the experiences they've had, and they make fun of those traumas, and they share that on stage, and people see it, and they can see that you've processed it, you've gotten over it, and now you're making fun of it, and they love to see that, you know?
That's so interesting. I had this guy on the podcast, Troy King. He used to be a stand-up comedian. He's now doing sort of work in the neuroscience space.
Okay.
And lots of sort of corporate talks and just inspirational stuff. But Troy was talking about his stepping into comedy. It was a trauma response coping mechanism. That's what he called it. And so it's interesting. There's a theme there for all you comedians. Like something so traumatic happened, or things that you're like, I need to figure out how to process this. And the only way to do that is to laugh about it. And I think that adding the publicly bit is really interesting. That, okay, you can laugh about it, sure, but do you have to get up on stage
every night?
To do that?
Share
Something
with
about
strangers.
that.
He's definitely
It's like
right
confessional.
in saying that. And, that's why they say there's a lot of mental health issues associated with comedians. I read somewhere, it showed in a study that in the entertainment industry, comedians are more likely to commit suicide than many other, than actors and stuff. They're more likely to be depressed. Sorry. And honestly, the more depressed or going through a shit time a comedian is, the funnier they are on stage, or the more success they experience when they put all that energy into their work. So it's weird. It definitely doesn't attract the healthiest of society. It definitely attracts a lot of misfits, and they just come together. And so you've got all these misfits who get up on stage, and they're all very different. And so the audience is blown away, and they think, all comedians must be like best mates, and you probably having the best laugh in the green room. But the truth is, there's only a handful of people that are like that when they're together, a handful of comedians, but a lot of them, it's more like negative and, this joke is shit, this person is terrible, this person got this and I don't even like the way they did that. It's not very positive.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. The other night I went to the Comics Lounge for the first time in I don't know, it must have been 20 years. Troy invited me actually, and I was like, yeah, that'd be a great thing to do. Let's go and do it. I might be able to find some new guests with my pocket knife.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stood out about the night was how diverse the comedians were. There was no females actually, but I just felt the diversity from the styles and the stories and the way that they engage with the crowd. Everyone was so different. Yeah, I can definitely see that it's a very individualistic thing.
The Comics Lounge is the biggest comedy room in Australia.
Is it?
It is, and
No idea.
it's up there, probably top 7 in the world in terms of just how 6 nights a week for it to have hundreds of people there.
Yeah, that's insane.
That is insane and very unheard of because of the size. Yeah, there's 400-500. Yeah, you won't find that in many parts of the world, right? A lot of the time, if you do, it's a theater. It's not a comedy room. This is a comedy room. It just holds 400-500 people, and it's packed 6 nights a week. And you have all the acts from telly. They know where to stop by when they're in Melbourne or live in Melbourne. It's the Comics Lounge, and it's been going for over 30 years. It was started by their dad and then passed down to the kids. So the fact that we have it here in Australia and not anywhere else in the world,
Melbourne
is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that we have it in Melbourne
in our
is
backyard,
next level.
The same city where we have one of the 4 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
Where we have one of the 20 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very lucky here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's done wonders for comedy in Australia, and we're very lucky in Australia. We've got also the Perth Fringe Festival here, which is the 3rd biggest arts festival in the world. We have the Adelaide Fringe here, which is the 2nd biggest arts festival in the world. And then we have the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and then we have Sydney Comedy Festival, Brisbane Comedy Festival. We've got Melbourne Fringe, Sydney Fringe, Perth. I can keep naming. You can pretty much do comedy for 8 months of the year in Australia.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're very, very lucky. That's very rare to have in other countries. People fly in from all around the world to do comedy in Perth for Perth Fringe.
Which is crazy.
So imagine how beneficial that is for people in Perth.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, I guess we haven't told the audience, but there's going to be people listening to this that already know you, but some people that will be meeting you for the first time through this. So you're a professional full-time comedian now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before that, I used to be a banker. I used to work for Bankwest. Yeah.
It's out in Perth, of course.
Yeah, in Perth, and did that for about 3 years.
Doing what? Selling?
I started as a sales consultant, then I became a lender, and then I became a business home lending manager. And then they changed it to, I think, personal relationship manager. And then I had a catch up with the CEO because I sent him a random email and everyone thought I was crazy. But he was just like, yeah, let's catch up because I wanted to have a chat and just find out.
What?
I just wanted to know how he operates. He's a high level individual and I wanted to know how he thinks, and he doesn't think like, the average person.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, let's catch up. So we went for a coffee catch up and he gave me all this great advice. And he's like, man, you're going to go far. You just have to keep at it. And I said, no worries, thank you. He recommended I apply for this other position, which is a little bit higher than the position I was in. I applied, I got it, and he was like, you're going to go far. And then I did one open mic spot, and I was just like, yeah, see you later, banking. like, it's,
Was it, so that was like love at first sight with comedy.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, when I did my first proper open mic, it was 5 minutes. I got like 3 applause break, and I was just like, what is this feeling that I'm feeling right now?
What did you get? 3
Yeah, not to brag. It was just 3 applause breaks, which was like I've never experienced it before, yeah?
What's an applause break? It's like you tell a joke,
Yeah.
and people are like, woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, people clap and they just like...
But your set's not finished, but it's just because of that joke.
You just stop
Damn.
because they're clapping, you
That's
know?
good. Yeah, that's really good.
You know, I've never...
3?
I've never experienced it before,
In
obviously.
5 minutes?
In 5 minutes, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I think for me, what got me hooked was not necessarily, I got claps, but it's more so being on stage, elevated, you're talking to a room of 60 or so strangers, you're about to be vulnerable, and why should they listen to you? Why should they think what you have to say is, you know, important? So it's like, I've got all these questions in my head. I'm like, this is a weird thing that I'm doing, but I'm like, I have to do it. I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. And then I do it, and then they reward me with claps and smiles and cheers, which is the best feeling someone can give you, you know?
That's what you go for.
Yeah.
That's what you do it for, right?
I was hooked. I was just like, what is this? This is amazing. And then when I left, I was just crying. Because I found something that just made me feel something I've never felt before, you know?
That's so inspirational.
Yeah, man. I was hooked from that day. I was like, this is all I ever wanted to delete everyone from my phone. If it's not to do with comedy.
Okay. Yeah, I get it now. I get it now.
It was just, I cannot explain it. And prior to that, forget the traumas of coming here at the age of 11 from like a refugee background and all the traumas, blah, blah, blah. But also coming here, you have the challenges of now transitioning into an Australian way of life. And what does that mean, And
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so you've got all that, in the back of your head growing up. So you've like third culture child, Ethiopian, born in Sudan, growing up in Australia. So you've got all these traumas you're dealing with. And then now you're on stage and you're sharing all this with people and they're clapping for you.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that feeling it's like you've discovered something. And I was like, I'm going to make this my thing. This is it.
That's so inspirational, man. I had no idea.
Yeah, the exact way I discovered comedy, I didn't just randomly show up at an open mic, which is what some people do. And I'm like, man, kudos to you. I respect that.
Yeah.
But I needed someone to hold my hand. I needed to be like ushered onto a stage. I needed someone to go, it's all right, you're going to do well. Just go and do what you
Who
practice.
was that?
So for me, I was going through a stage in my life where I came out of a relationship and I was trying to find out, the meaning of life for me, my purpose. What is it? It can't just be going to work and gym and then that's it, And so my sister called me and she was like in tears and she goes, oh, you're not going to believe this, but I was in the markets. I saw this. This is a long story, but bear with me.
Yeah, okay.
Right, I saw this psychic in the market, randomly went in there. She did a reading for me.
Yeah.
And
I love
it
that.
freaked me out. That's what she said. And I go, why did she freak you out? And she's like, she knew things she should not.
They know stuff.
Yeah. And she's like, how does she know this? And I was like, oh, that's pretty scary. And so she goes, can you go and see her and see what she says about you? Because you've got this massive shift in your life happening. Maybe some guidance. Let's see what she says.
Oh, bro.
And I was like...
I've got a similar story, by the way.
Yeah? Oh, that's hectic. Oh, man. And so I was like, you know what? I've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain, So I went and gave her $60 and she's like, have you been to a reading before? And I was like, nope. She's like, do you believe in this? I'm like, nope, you're going to go to hell, but I'm here. Because Orthodox upbringing, like any of that psychic stuff, they're going to hell for sure.
Wild,
which is stupid to me because, she's helping people. She's giving people clarity.
Absolutely.
And I'm one of those people that she helped. So, but at the time I was just open-minded and I said, you know what? I've never done this before. I'm open to everything. And she's like, I'm not going to give you any bullshit. I'm going to tell you exactly what I see for you and what the message is for you. And I said, yeah, tell me everything. And she starts talking about my career path and she starts telling me things that she should not have known about me and my friends and whatever we get up to, right? And I was just like, whoa, this is mind-blowing. And then she goes, what do you do for work? I said I was a banker. And she starts laughing at me. And I go, why is that funny? And she goes, that's not what I see for you. Spiritually, you're not a banker. You only like that job because it gives you power. It puts you in a place of authority. And I was like, okay. And she goes, I see you. And she starts staring and being funny and weird. And she goes, what I see for you is you're on stage. And I know you're on stage because you're elevated and you're making people, you're talking to people and the energy is amazing.
Okay.
She's like, I go, what do you mean the energy is amazing? She's like, it's like you walk in and everyone's high-fiving everyone. She goes, that's the energy. And I go, oh, not sure what it is.
Tony
and then
Robbins.
Yeah. Well, she did ask. She goes, are you a motivational speaker? And I said, no. And she goes, are you a rapper? And I said, are you stereotyping? And she starts laughing, going, no, I'm not. And I go, I'm joking. And she goes, okay, but she goes, you just have to find it. She goes, but you're supposed to be on stage and it's going to be great. You're going to be great at it. You're going to be successful at it. You're going to make lots of money at it. So I'm waiting for that part. But she goes, you're going to be great at it. And I went, okay, I wonder what it is. She goes, you have to find it. I go, okay. Now, before I left and the reading was over, I go, 2 months ago, said I wrote like 1 page of jokes because my friend kept saying, you should be on stage, man. You should try comedy. Because I was doing all these weird things to try and find out what my purpose is already. And so I wrote this piece of paper with these jokes and then I put it away and I went, I'm just going to focus in banking and try to be the CEO of that, right? I told her this and she was just, the way she looked at me, I'm telling you, bro, the way she looked at me was like I was a gold mine. And she goes, that's what you have to do. That's what it is. If you don't do it, she's like, you're going to be an old man and regret the way you lived your life. And I was going through personal development at the time, right, before I saw her. And one of the things it says is you have to face your fear, right? You don't want fear to get in the way of what you're supposed to be or what you want to become. So I said, okay, if she's saying I'm going to regret the way I live my life, I don't want that. No regrets. So I said, all right, well, how do I get on stage? And she goes, the way you get on stage is you find someone to help you get on stage. And I said, okay. I looked online and everything when I was doing the comedy writing and I couldn't find anywhere online, right? And so like there's a whole community out there in Perth, but I couldn't find it because I wasn't linked to it, right? And I sent emails and I Googled and there was nothing. And so then this lady goes, you have to find it. It's online, find it. I said, all right. And so I went online and I found the school, Australian Stand-Up School of Comedy, 5 nights in Melbourne or 6 weeks in Sydney. And so I went to Melbourne. So I did the course in Melbourne, Australian Stand-Up School of Comedy with Dante. And we went through, you know, the ins and outs of comedy writing and making people laugh. And then when I finished with him, he gave me a list of all the comedy clubs to hit up in Perth. And then I went and did my first open mic there. And it was mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it. Like 3 claps and I was just like, this is the best. So I was hooked after that.
That's awesome. And so who was the person that took you up on stage?
Dante.
Dante was.
Yeah.
And so he's, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Really similar to Stephen Bradshaw, who I spoke to last week. He was like, yeah, I did the course and that sort of was my easing into, you know, the scene.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like he said the same thing. Some people just show up to
Yeah.
an open mic and just try and go for it. And it can be like a crushing experience. Yeah. I feel like you did it right.
And Stephen Bradshaw's story, he went to the Australian School of Stand-Up. Oh, no, he went School of Hard Knocks. That's the one he went to. Now, the School of Hard Knocks is started by Maury and Ben Horowitz. Yeah. So the first course that I took with Australian Stand-Up School of Comedy with Dante, in that class was Maury Morgan himself.
No way.
Yeah, he was doing comedy. He was trying to learn comedy and stuff. So we took that first class together. And the teacher that came in to speak to us was Ben Horowitz. And then they went off and they started their own school, which has taught almost over 1,000 new comedians, which is great. A lot of people are anti-comedy schools.
Why?
But no, they just think it's a scam to get new comedians money, blah, blah, blah. But man, I spent probably...
School is a scam.
Yeah, I spent probably $2,500 learning stand-up comedy, right? Coming from Perth to here, accommodation, the course and everything. But I've made way more than that
has it paid
in
you
comedy.
back?
Yeah, I've made way more than that.
Well, sure.
Right?
I mean, not everyone's, you know, you're the exception, probably not the rule, I'd say.
Yeah, but there's plenty of people in my shoes where they took a school and then they've gone on and made something of themselves. But then there's plenty of people where they take the school and then they can't be bothered with the hard work side of things.
But that's like going to freaking art school. That's like going to any school.
Yeah.
You know, that's like going and studying marketing and then going and working in a cafe. Like, it's the same.
Yeah, and I
Like
think
that's not exclusive to comedy school. The
Yeah.
fact that you go and do the course, pay the money,
Yeah.
and then you can choose to pursue it or you can choose to not.
yeah, hard work plays a huge part.
For sure.
It's not just talent, you know. Some
Yeah.
people have talent, but they don't have the hard work, and so they end up giving up. Some people don't have the talent, but they have the hard work,
Yeah.
and so they discover a way to make it work, right?
Yeah. I like to consider myself in that category.
Definitely a hard worker. Zero talent. No. Very talented. The fact that you thought of this setup, to me, says a lot of talent.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's so
so-
nice to be here with you.
I wish I could say the same. No, it's so nice to be here with you, bro. You know I'm here because
you are funny.
I saw you and I went, I gotta do this guy's podcast. He looks desperate.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, desperate and
but
dateless.
He looks like a legend. I gotta do it.
No, awesome. Well, no, it's cool. That's such a great story, man. That's such an inspirational story. And I told you that I got a similar one.
Tell me, I'm listening.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go through the whole story, but in short, it's the similar kind of thing.
You saw a psychic to be a comedian?
No, well, I'm not a comedian. But, okay, so it was like early 2009. 2009. So what's that, like 15 and a half years ago? And my kid was like 7 months old, and I was living in Queensland, and it was the GFC. I couldn't find work, like good work, and I felt a lot of pressure from my partner. She wanted me to be working, you know, she wanted to be an at-home mum, but it just wasn't working out for me. And she studied chiropractic. She had a couple of, she had a stepdad there that owned 2 clinics, and so she was going to be easily, and she's from there. She grew up there, her family's from there, so it was going to be really easy for her to step into a job. It was a lot harder for me, this guy from Melbourne with a degree in film and television, you know.
Yeah, oh wow.
I got a job as a dishwasher, and I got fired. You know, I wasn't even good at that.
Yeah.
I was just
too busy podcasting while it was instead of washing dishes.
No, well, I wasn't podcasting at the time, but
No, just talking to a random person next to you.
I was
That's the form of podcasting.
Tell me. Yeah, the dishes were piling up, and I was having conversations. And so my ex was like, and she really believed in all this stuff, probably still does. I think she does. You know, they're very spiritual at that side of her family. So she was like, or she was saying to me, actually, she said to me, why don't you go to get a reading from a clairvoyant? And I was like, yeah, I'm up for anything. You know, I'm open to anything. I'm so desperate. I'm so lost. I feel so helpless that I'll do anything. And we were going to breakfast, and we walked past this little shop that was like readings, like
that's pretty cool.
$60.
There you
Go in. And I was like, I didn't expect it to just be like there. And so she was like, go in. And I was like, no. After breakfast.
Yeah.
Not on an empty stomach.
Yeah. I can't take bad news on an empty stomach.
Exactly. And similar to you, when I went in there, she started telling me all this stuff that, like, and similar to your sister, that there's no way she could have known that. And one of the things that she said, she was like closed her eyes, and she was like, oh, you're a writer. Have you written anything? And I was like, no, not really. And she was like, write, like you need to write. And I was like, okay, here's the crazy thing. I went and wrote a children's book.
That's pretty cool.
It was only 240 words though. I spent 5 years illustrating the thing. So I didn't really write. I didn't write anything. Fast forward 12 years, right? 2021. My other ex buys me a Vedic astrology reading.
Well, you still friends with your previous girlfriend? That's crazy.
She wasn't my ex at the time. She was my girlfriend at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And she buys me a Vedic astrology reading, and I do it, right? And this is during the pandemic.
She bought you a what?
Vedic astrology. It's a guy like sort of reads like astrology charts based on your date of birth and everything, and
Star
place of
signs
birth. And he goes, but it's more in depth than just your star sign, right? It's very personalized. And so this is 12 years on, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I'm reading your chart here. Says that you're a writer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You didn't tell him nothing?
Didn't tell him nothing.
Says you're right. How do you explain that shit?
Apart from the questions that he was asking me, of course.
Yeah.
Which was like, have you written anything? And I was like, I rolled my eyes, and I'm like, I wrote a children's book.
If he's asked you, have you written anything, is this before he told you were a writer or after?
Well, it's similar to your story, right?
Yeah.
Like, they can see things,
Yeah.
right? But, like, she's like, are you a rapper? Or, like, are you a motivational speaker? They can't see the specific.
But she saw that I was on stage, and she goes, I see you. She said, you a banker? I told her I was a banker, and she laughed, and she goes, I see you on stage, elevated. So she said those words, speaking to people, the energy is high five. I don't know what it is, but you're supposed to be on stage talking to people, right? So she said those words before I told her anything to do with comedy or motivational speaking or rapping, any of that.
Yeah, well, he didn't know that I had written anything. He asked me if I had written anything. And I was like, yeah, I've written a children's book. But he's like, he said it's slightly different to her. Like 12 years earlier, she was like, you're a writer. This time he goes, you're a writer. But he goes, well, actually, so it says writer, but in the modern context, it could be like you could be a YouTuber, for example. Like
that's okay.
What he goes, what I mean is that it says that you're going to be publishing something. And I was like, I started this podcast like a year and a half earlier, and I was really enjoying it. Just doing it as like a little hobby, just every now and then kind of thing. And I was like, maybe I should put more into this podcast. You know, it's crazy that 12 years apart, two esoteric people are telling me the exact same thing. And the bitter pill to swallow is that, you know, I didn't action it enough 12 years ago. And now I'm being told again. So it's like, I don't want to wait another 12 years and go to another reading to figure out what my life's got in store for me, and then have another esoteric person go, you're a writer. Have you written anything yet?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get there. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the thing now.
I love that.
So you're part of that story.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it's they can tell you things, but whether you apply it or not, it's completely up to you. You have that freedom to choose. And I know a lot of people out there don't believe in readings and psychics, and that's fine if they don't. But I think there is something that's unexplained about it, and if it works for you, it works for you. And it worked for me. If it wasn't for that reading and her telling me you got to do it, you're going to be successful about it, you're going to be great at it, you have to do it, you're going to regret the way you lived your life, I would not have done it.
They didn't tell me I was going to be successful.
Well,
you got told you were going to be successful?
That explains why you're in an alleyway. That explains this setup. But you should have stuck to the cocaine business. There's more money.
I knew.
Instead of yachts, you've settled for an alleyway.
I was hoping you would take the piss out of me today in some way.
Mate, I love the vibe. I love the energy.
Yeah.
And this is very artsy and right up my alleyway. So this is awesome.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah. And, those readings, if they make your life better, then bloody do it,
I agree. And so do you have you said Orthodox. So are you like religious and you practice?
Yeah, so I grew up very religious with my mum because that's all we had growing up, when we were homeless, we lived outside the church, and when the church opened, we went in and, we did some prayers, and then when they finished and there was food, we tried to eat the food and, leftovers and stuff, and then when it closed, we'll sleep outside the church. So we had like that connection to church from a very young age, but also you have to understand the Orthodox religion and Ethiopians, it's one. It's part of the culture, right? It's not just a religion. It's actually
a religious nation.
Yeah, it's a very religious nation. It's part of our culture.
Okay. It's like the Jewish in Israel,
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
For Ethiopians not to be Orthodox, it's very rare, right? But we do have now, I think it's 50-50 where the religion in Ethiopia is probably 50% Muslim, 50% Christians. But the Pentecostal religion is also coming up now. So we grew up very religious. And then I guess now I'm not as religious as I used to be, but I still go to church when I can. I still do a bit of prayer here and there before I eat when I'm with my missus, and we do quick prayer, Because church and religion, like going to a church is a healthy church where they preach togetherness, where they preach coming together and giving to the less fortunate, where they preach how to get out of whatever dark space you're in. And it honestly feels like the preacher is speaking to your soul when you're going through a hard time and you don't want to talk to anyone and you're just in that room in the back, and the preacher is preaching about adversity, preaching about being courageous, being fearless, moving toward whatever. Yeah, so these are all positive and healthy things. This is not, hey, take these drugs or let's go clubbing and get some alcohol in you. So this is positive things that the preacher is preaching in the church. If you take that and you go out to your community and you apply that and you become a better person and you add to your community, there's nothing wrong with going to the church.
Absolutely.
The problem is when there is obviously the dark side of, religion or churches.
Well, no.
When you see them, you got to stop them or you got to leave, So I don't get too caught up, but I take the benefits and the best things out of it and I just move on,
Yeah, me too. I only started going to church, I guess, through my own autonomy, because Mum used to take us when we were kids. And then we just got busy with life. She started a business. We consumed all our weekends. But I started going to church autonomously this year, actually.
Oh, nice.
And I was basically walked in, sat down. I was going through kind of a moment where I was, Lewis, you got to change your ways, man. You can't keep selling cocaine.
No more, man. Forget Saturday night, Sunday mornings now.
I've never sold drugs, by the way.
Sure. I believe you.
For those listening, we just winked at each other.
Yeah.
You have to go on YouTube to see that.
Yeah.
But, I sat down, I listened to the sermon, and it was just a message I needed to hear.
Yeah.
To improve my life.
And that's empowering. You're a better person for it. Like you heard it, it made you feel good, you went away, you're like, all right, I got to apply these thoughts that I'm having now, these positive thoughts, I feel empowered. And then a week later, when life beats the shit out of you and you need that type of motivation again,
exactly,
you don't go and do drugs to get that up feel again.
You
what
don't?
do? You go to church and you get that more motivation, right?
Wait a second.
So it's a...
You're killing my customer base here.
So it's a positive impact it's having on you.
Yeah.
So it's not all negative, there's the positive side of it.
I haven't seen really any negative, but I know.
That's because you don't watch 60-minute documentaries.
But that's not church or religion. That's people.
That's people. Yeah.
Like
people,
they're
power,
flawed and
they
they're
can be
messed
corrupt.
up.
Yeah, 100%.
It's nothing to
people.
do with the Bible or God or even the community side
Yeah.
of the church. It's just someone messed up.
Yeah.
And
100%.
yeah, so yeah, we need to separate the two, because I feel like religion gets a bad rap, and you were talking about like, oh yeah, we live in this liberal democracy where we can do and be whoever we want, but you can see the effects of that in society. You can see the people that take ICE, and you're able to do whatever you want in a liberal democracy, right? And be whoever you want to be, and change your gender if you want, and all of that. But I feel like, to your point, the word empowerment in, having some discipline, structure, a belief system that you apply to your life. And I feel like, yeah, this church I started going to was like, this is a good belief system. I went back the next week, another good message. I went back the week after that. Every single week I've gone, it's been a great message that I've been able to take away.
And if it's working
for you,
any of it yet. And if it's working for you, and that's great, But I think we all, like, as a society, we have an agreement, like a social contract where, we want to live together, we want to live in harmony, we want to contribute, and we want to grow, right? And we want to be free to do what we want to do without disrupting those things, without hurting each other, without hurting our neighbor, without demolishing the society that we've built, And so it's like, how do we come together to make sure you can do what you want to do, but make sure it doesn't, not disrupt, but it doesn't corrupt, destroy what we're working on as a society, And I think that can be challenging and hard, because there are some crazy people out there and they have to be managed. But ultimately, it's like, coming together, discussing it. And that's why I'm big on like a healthy discourse. That's the word I was looking for.
Healthy discourse. I like that.
Yeah, because it's the only way you grow is to discuss it, to go back and forward. We don't all have to agree, but I think when you discuss it and you go back and forward, afterwards, you become a bit more knowledgeable and better for it.
I agree. There's probably not enough healthy discourse these days. I feel like society is very polarized, and we lean, especially politics and media really lean into polarization.
Yeah, so true. You get cancelled quick these days.
It's black or white. There's no grey. And you got to choose a side, by the way.
Yeah. See, I don't agree with that.
We love
where
that.
you got to choose a side, and I'm like...
Well, it's like sport. They've turned society into a sport. Like, which colours are you wearing? Are you a blood or a crip?
I'm always like, I'm just me, man. I just want to do me and just be, a better member of my community and find a way to contribute. And right now I'm contributing through making people laugh, and that's it.
Well, I think that's one of the best contributions that you can have to society, is bringing joy.
100%.
And laughter.
For like an hour of the time you have the people, you're making them laugh, you're making them forget about their worries. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing. They have this natural endorphins that shoots through their body for the period they're with you. Now, that's only on a one-man show, obviously, but when they go to an open mic and there is 20 comedians on and only 10 of them might be good and the other 10 are horrendous.
Yeah.
You can't explain that.
Yeah. By the way, I seem to have lost my phone.
Your phone? Oh, it's behind you.
There it is. There it is.
And that's why you're a writer.
Oh, man, I lose shit all the time. Because I wanted to take a photo of you while you're here before I forget.
Yeah, why not, man?
I like all these topics and these threads that we've gone down. I did want to mix it up a little bit, though. By the way, I thought, what better thing to do with a Ethiopian Australian migrant than to share
What's that?
a little bit of Australiana.
Oh, look at that.
As a Venezuelan Australian migrant,
Meat pie.
thought maybe we could share a meat pie.
Chunky beef.
Maybe we
topped
can
with puff pastry. This is definitely an alleyway meal.
Yeah, for real. Are you a messy eater like me?
I don't mind it. I've just recently become vegetarian like a week ago.
I'm like, this is a chunky beef pie.
Yeah, this is great.
I should have asked if you had any food. But I
Dietary
wanted to
requirements.
surprise you.
You've definitely surprised me with the alleyway, but now with this.
This isn't the last surprise, by the way.
Oh, there's more?
Maybe.
Oh, God, he's going to get naked soon. This just gets more interesting.
This is funny.
So I told my missus, because we're trying vegetarian.
Okay.
It's been a week now.
Yep.
And I told her I'm a flexible vegetarian. And she goes, what does that mean?
Vegetarian.
I said, it means if someone offers me meat, a dish with meat in it, I'm not going to say no. So I'm less annoying.
I'm glad you rephrased that too. If someone offers me a dish with meat in it. Because when you said if someone offers me meat, I was starting to get a little concerned.
You're like, what is this, grinder?
Well, cheers to immigrants.
Cheers, man. This pie is quite cold, though, eh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I bought it 3 hours ago. You were late. Not that
true.
late, though.
That's true.
So, apologies. It was sitting in my bag. I was like, oh, shit, that's right, the pies. Well, I was looking for my phone, which you helped me find. Thank you.
Your bag that's been in the alleyway. So I'm probably going to die after this.
Oh, it'll have salmonella for sure.
Hey, this is great food compared to what we used to have. You know, when I was in Sudan, when I used to get hungry,
Yep.
this is a true story. There'll be no food. Mum will be out in the markets trying to make money so she can buy us food. So I'll dig a hole in the mud, pour some water in there, mix some of that soil up, and I used to eat the soil.
Bullshit.
Yeah, just to
You
fill
kid.
my stomach up. True story. Just to fill my stomach up, to make the hunger pain go away. This is probably when I was like 8 years old or something, you know?
That's so hectic.
So now it's like I don't take anything for regret, man.
granted.
It's like,
I love that. You know, I talk about gratitude a lot on this podcast. And I think the thing that I've noticed, I suppose, mostly since we've been talking, because a lot of your online content is really sort of geared towards that comedy side of you. But what I've noticed since we've been talking is how grateful you are. Like, I sense like this underlying gratitude just in you,
yeah.
just generally.
Man, very grateful. Very, very grateful, you know? And I'm always trying to find ways to be able to give back, you know? Like, obviously, yes, being as funny as I can on stage and making people laugh is my number one goal when I'm on stage. But it's also like, how do I give financially? So when I do a show and it does really well, parts proceeds, I usually donate it to a charity of my
Nice.
choosing. Yeah.
Any charities that you want to shout out, like ones that you've done a bit of work with?
One of them is the Katina Woodruff Children's Foundation.
What's that about?
Katina is a children's, she's an anthropologist who did a lot of work in Africa. And then she's back in Perth now, where she started the foundation. And she goes into schools and she works with the school, the teachers, the community, the parents to try and help the migrant kids transition into the Australian way of life.
Right, okay.
And that's beautiful. And I wish I had that. You know, I wish I had someone who worked with me and my family and my community and my school and made it easier for us to accept that we're in a safer place now and we can start to be ourselves. Because that was a challenge. For a very long time, I was like, man, if I mess up, they're going to send us back and we can't afford to go back. So we better be the best kids ever, you know?
Yeah, okay.
And so if I had someone who worked with me as a kid to help me understand that I was safe, man, maybe I would have been a comedian a lot sooner.
Maybe.
And not at 29. You never know.
But I like that you have gratitude for that, even though it was a service that you didn't get to benefit from yourself, that you can see the value in it, which is great. Yeah. How's the pie?
Disgusting. No, it's pretty good.
It's a hangover food. And
Oh, I love it,
am
man.
hungover, by the way, so
No, it's pretty good.
if I didn't mention that already.
It reminds me of my high school days, you know?
This is a 7-Eleven pie, by the way. I wish it was
Is it?
fancier. Yeah.
No.
I wanted to get you something better, but
No, this is definitely high school pies, man.
yeah.
You go to school here, by the way?
Yeah, Victorian. I'm a Vic boy.
Oh,
So I grew up in the southeast, out in Berwick. Actually, when I landed in Australia, we moved out to Dandenong. Was known for a time as Australia's most multicultural city.
Dandenong?
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's just everyone was from everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we moved out to Berwick, which was like the opposite of that.
Okay.
Like there was 2 Chinese girls, 2 Italians,
Wow.
and my brother and I. And my
Yeah.
brother was like really obsessed with really trying to fit in, and I was just confused. But you know what was good was that like even though I got picked on, I was like those 2 Chinese girls get picked on way worse.
Yeah.
And I was
Wow.
like, thank God for them. Because I can't handle this shit. Yeah, but now I feel bad for having that thought. But the 2 Italians, the Minutellos, yeah, they got picked on a lot too. And then later, this little Aussie kid that became my friend, Glenn, when he felt safe enough, like in the later years at high school, he sort of said, yeah, I was one of those weird foreign kids too. Because my dad, even though he was born in Australia, his dad's from Finland and used to send him to school with like raw fish sandwiches. And like the kids at school were like, ew, like disgusting, because they'd have like Vegemite bloody sandwiches or whatever they had, Aussie kids food. And so it's so interesting how our backgrounds and depending on what environment you come into, like
Yeah.
I like your story where you're like, oh yeah, we tried to be the best we could because we didn't want to be sent back. Just don't stand out for the wrong reasons or in a bad way.
Yeah, and you know, some Ethiopian parents, not mine, but some of my mates, their parents, when they don't listen, they'll discipline them by going, you know what, that's it, you're going back to Ethiopia. You're going back to Africa. And they'll drive them to the airport. They'll park the car. They'll get them out. They'll walk them in there. They'll be like, you're going back. That's it. You don't listen anymore. You're going. And the kid my friend will be crying. No, I'm so sorry. I don't want to go back. And they think, okay, fine. I won't send you. And they go back home and they think, oh, he'd listen. Moving forward, you know, he would listen now. But the traumas that you've just inflicted on your kid, now they're forever thinking, oh shit, if I muck up, they're going to send me back.
Yeah, I'm going to send my 38-year-old son back to...
But yeah, school is hard, man. Coming here, migrating to Australia, for me, you know, when I went to school, I was the only black guy in my year. Beside my sister, she was the only other black girl because we were in the same year. Then there was one other black guy above me. And so we were the only 3 black people in the school we went to. Now, imagine this. I come to Australia as a refugee. Now I'm in school. I'm the only black guy there beside that one guy above my 1 year above me, and everyone in the school has this idea of what a black person behaves like and is like, and it's all from African American music. It's all from hip hop. It's all from rap, right? And so when they see me at school, they're looking at me like, why aren't you like Nelly or Tupac or B.I.G., you know, like, and I'm there going, World Vision, like the World Vision kid goes, that's where I come from.
Oh, that's so funny.
And they're like, no, you're supposed to be cool. Like, no, I have no idea of all of that. So now I've got this pressure. Oh, so when I come to school, I got to be cool. Otherwise, what happens is you get bullied. Dude, I used to wear a headband. I used to wear a beanie. I used to wear a wristband, you know, like I used to try to be like Nelly pretty much. I used to get like a bandage on, you know.
You're explaining a lot that's making sense to me now about the behavior of the coloured kids that I went to school with. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
Because they have to try to fit into this narrative that it's not them, you know, and it's not like now it's like, no, be yourself. That's more encouraged. But back then you got bullied for being yourself. So you have to survive, yeah, and thrive. And so you have to find ways to do that. And one of the ways was nicknames, yeah. So when I got the name Joe White's not my real name.
No, really?
Yeah, it's not my real name. So
Damn.
I got Joe when I was probably about 14 years old. Right, I was playing soccer, and the kids go, "Man, you're not passing the ball." And I, you know, with whatever English I could muster, I was like, "Well, no one's called me, right? You got to say my name." And they're like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Talahun." That's my real name, Talahun.
Talahun.
Yeah, Talahun. Yeah.
Should I reintroduce you?
Nah, you're right. I don't want you to be spitting on that mic anymore, right?
Talahun.
So I got Talahun, and they're like, "We can't pronounce it, man." And this is when I was 14. I said, "Okay, well, I don't know." And they said, "Can we give you a nickname?" And I said, "What's that?" And they're like, "Just a name we can call you." I was like, "Okay." And I said, "What do you want? What do you want to call me?" And they said, "Michael." And at the time, I had a friend called Michael that was cock blocking me when I'm trying to hook up with this girl that I was into, right? Yeah. So I was like, no, Michael, no Michael. And they went, "Okay, what about Joe?" And I said, "Yeah, call me Joe. I like Joe." Because at the time, I was listening to, you know, Joe Thomas, the singer.
No.
You know,
Joe Thomas?
yeah, he used to have this African American R&B love song singer.
That wasn't my narrative, bro. Like, my narrative
What
was
was your thing?
Latino.
Oh, okay.
I was listening to Enrique.
You should have got bullied way more than you did. You should have got bullied.
Believe me,
bro.
I still do.
Oh my god, Enrique back then?
Yeah, Enrique.
Man. Yeah, I listened to Enrique as an adult, and I
Uh-huh.
enjoy him way more. But I grew up on like Tupac and Biggie and stuff like that.
right.
Yeah. So,
No, I don't know Joe Thomas.
so Joe Thomas, R&B singer, romantic singer, ladies man, cool. So he was pretty much, he embodied everything I wanted to.
Oh, ladies man.
Yeah,
you wanted to be a
everything.
ladies man.
Dude, I want it to be cool. I want it to be accepted. I wanted to play that, you know? It wasn't who I was at the time. I was quiet. I was shitting bricks. I was scared, right? So it wasn't who I was, but I wanted to be that. And so when they said, "Do you want to be Joe?" I was like, yeah, call me Joe. I want to be Joe. Because I associated Joe with Joe Thomas, right?
Nice, yeah.
And so, you know, when I went to school, they'll be like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Joe." Because I wasn't going to say Talahun, because they'll be like, "We can't pronounce it, and we're going to bully you now." So I was like, "Joe." And so they started calling me Joe. And before the teacher did the roll call, I used to tell her, "Oh, Talahun is actually pronounced Joe." And she was like, "All right, whatever. I'll call you Joe." And so I did this, right? And told everyone, when they go, "What's your name, new kid?" I'll go, "Joe." And they go, "Oh, okay, cool, Joe." When I went to work, "What's your name?" "Joe." When I started talking to girls, "What's your name?" "Joe." And so then when they used to call to speak to me at home, you know, when we had the phone hooked to the wall and they'd call.
Yeah. Your mum, because you were in trouble.
Yeah, mum would pick it up and she'd be like, "Hello?" And they go, "Oh, can I speak to Joe?" And she should just hang up. Wrong number, right? And she did this so many times. And then eventually she'll tell my sister, "Who's Joe?" And they'll go, "Oh, Talahun." And then my mum will give me an ass whooping because how
Really?
dare you change your name, right? But I was Joe all through high school, all through my working life. And then when I became a comedian, I was still Joe. My last name was Halu. It's not even white. So it was Joe Halu. That's the name I was performing with. And then when I looked at it written on the wall, it didn't make sense. Joe Halu. I'm like, you gotta go one way or the other. You know, what is it? And so I was talking to my buddy, and my buddy was like, I said, "I want to get a nickname." Then in high school, they used to call me Joe Black because I was the only black guy in my year. So they'll be like, "Oh, Joe Black, right?" I thought she was going to give you a kiss.
I thought so too. One on me? One on me? Ah.
So it was Joe Black, right?
Yeah.
And so I was going to go with that. And then the movie Joe Dirt came out and they started calling me Joe Dirt. I'm like, no, go back to Joe Black. So when I was performing now as a comedian, I was going to go with Joe Black instead of Joe Halu. And my buddy goes, that's lame because you're already black. You get up, you say Joe Black. But if you go the opposite, Joe White, that's funny because you're not white. And you already get laughs before you even start. And I was like, you know what? That's all I want is I want to be funny. So I went with Joe White. I didn't think I was going to get to where I'm at now, right? Well, I sort of did because of the psychic lady, but I didn't think it was going to be
The psychic lady told me I'm going to be successful.
I'm going to be good at it. So now with the name Joe White, it's a bit controversial because people are like, oh, you're trying to be white. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not, you can't just have a white name and then be white.
Yeah. How is having the name White trying to be white?
So I'm like, they go, no, you need to go back to Talahun. And I'm like, you know what, mate, I'm not against Talahun. I like the name Talahun. Yeah, and I might go back to it, but for now, I'm sort of still married to Joe White.
But
I like
it's
it.
cool. Like, I think it's okay in show business to have a stage name.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though it's more than a stage name, you know, it came to you well before being on stage.
Yeah.
It almost adds to that privacy layer as well. You know, you are Talahun in your personal life, and your very, very close friends and family know you as Talahun.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that properly?
No, you're butchering it.
I'm sorry.
No. You've got it.
I'm trying to enunciate
There's just
the
no
T a lot.
pause. There's no pause, and you gotta just go Talahun. There's no Talahun. It's just Talahun.
Talahun. Talahun?
Talahun.
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 Am I not saying it fluently enough?
So see that noise that you're making? It's not.
La.
It's not. It's Talahun. And then just say the full thing.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Nah, do it. You almost got it.
Talahun.
So it's not s and it's not s. It's
Talahun.
now just say it as one word.
Talahun. It's hard.
This
Well,
is why
I'll
you
practice.
can never marry an Ethiopian girl.
Okay. Noted. Okay.
You
I better
can't-
call up all my Ethiopian girlfriends right now and
Yeah.
tell them.
Dude, Ethiopian alphabet,
Tell
there
me
is
about it.
7 different ways of pronouncing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, all the way to Z, yeah?
What? 7 different ways for
7
all
different
letters.
ways, yeah.
So that's
and
true.
so Talahun is one of the 7 of pronouncing the T. So there's so T. So T is part of T, but it goes, so with A, the noises for A, 7 different ways is E, U, I, A, E, U, O.
kidding.
With B, it's B, Bu, Bi, Ba, Be, B, Bo. With C, it's Se, Su, Si, Sa, Se, Si, So. So with mine, which is T, it's, there's T and there's T. There's T. There's T and T. T is T. And T is its own alphabet. So T is different ways of pronouncing it, which is T, Tu, Ti, Ta, Te, T, To. And with my
I'm
name,
gonna clip
it's
that for
with
sure.
and with my name, it's not T. It's not. It's T. Lahun. So T, Tu, Ti, Ta, Te,
So
T,
complex.
T. Oh, so mine is the second last one, Talahun. That's Ethiopian alphabet for you.
Yeah. You were saying before that your mum never learnt to read or write, but
Yeah.
it sounds like she learned how to speak the most complicated language on earth.
Yeah, dude, Amharic is very complicated, but I think for me the most complicated language to speak would be Xhosa. You know that Xhosa. There's the clicking language, Xhosa. Yeah,
I have no idea.
that Xhosa. That's where the click
where
language
is that
comes from. I think it's in South Africa.
South Africa, really?
Yeah, it's one of the oldest civilization in the world
Really?
as well. Yeah, you've seen the gods must be crazy.
Yes. How good was
So,
that?
so they speak Xhosa, the Kalahari Desert Men. Yeah.
I remember being a fresh immigrant to Australia, you
Yeah.
know, and living in Dandenong. And
Yeah.
my mum, my brother and I watching The Gods Must Be Crazy on TV, just
Yeah.
laughing our asses off.
It's my mom's favorite movie as well.
Just loved that.
She loves that movie and any movie to do with Jesus. That's the only 2 things she watches.
So Mel Gibson, The
Yeah.
Passion of the Christ.
She loves that. Have you seen?
I've never seen it, by the way.
Have you seen? I read that Nike was trying to break into Africa in terms of, with obviously shoes and stuff like that. But they wanted to use.
Like trying to break in.
Yeah.
Like-
They wanted to into the market. I should say they wanted to break into the market, and they wanted to use the Gods Must Be Crazy to do it because
Oh,
it was
for
very
real?
popular, right? And so they had this ad. It cost them about $5 million, yeah. And
5 million.
yeah, smile for the picture. The ad cost them $5 million to make, and then they just got rid of it. They didn't use it. And I'll tell you why. Because they said we'll get 2 Kalahari Desert Men to meet by the waterfall, and one of them will have Nike shoes on. The one with no shoes on will point at the one with the shoes and say something like, right, whatever. And then the other person will go, and then they'll just walk past. And so they did that, and they just said, just talk to each other. Point at it, talk to each other, and just walk past. They didn't give them lines and nothing. So they did that, and then before they released it, they said, why don't we get someone to translate it just before we put it out? So they got a translator, and the translator said, you don't want to put this out. And they said, why? And so the translator said, one Kalahari Desert man walked up to the other one with the shoes on, and he goes, what's that shit? And he goes, I don't know, but it's slowing me down. And so they said, you don't have to put that out. You'll lose business.
Imagine all that hard work they did
$5
signing
million.
Michael Jordan, you know, and
Down the drain.
improving their brand.
Yeah.
That would have gone viral. Like today, by today's standards, that would have
been
been
funny.
good for the brand.
Yeah. But that was, Gods Must Be Crazy.
Someone has finally referenced the Gods Must Be Crazy on the Lui Diaz podcast. I've been waiting for this moment.
I did it for my mum. It's her favorite movie.
Nice.
Yeah, I try to take her to the movies to watch other stuff, and she's like, no, thank you. The movie she hates the most is probably Harry Potter.
Really?
Yeah, because it's got
Okay.
too much demonic activities in it, and
Right.
she's like, what is this? I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
Too much devil stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Actually, going back to that point that we were making about religion, I think one of the things that sort of I didn't say I was going to say was that, I mean, you were talking about like the esoteric stuff. If it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I've mentioned to a couple of people at church that I've had these psychic readings. And they're like, oh, no. And I'm like, yeah, I sort of agree with the point that you were kind of making before, but you didn't phrase it like this. But I think like God speaks through anything.
Yeah.
You know, not that I'm like super religious.
God speaks to you.
In whatever way that you want.
In whatever experience is familiar to you. So if you're into taking mushrooms and being a pothead and you're not hurting anyone, you're just having all this experience, you might have a godly experience through the mushroom.
I like that.
You might. And
Do
it
you
might
have any?
change you into making you the best version of yourself and the most contributing member of society compared to the guy that's just attending church doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Speaking of mushrooms,
I've got none. Right? So don't
we should
listen
have taken mushrooms.
Don't
before.
listen to anyone, man. You just have your own God experience. It's a personal thing between you and the higher power. It's not an experience between you and the church and the preacher. I mean, you go to church, you go to the preacher because that's a space set up for that experience specifically. You don't go there to rave or, to meditate. Or it is a form of meditation, to be honest, at sometimes. But you go there for that experience, But then you're there as an individual and you're having an individual experience with a higher power.
Yeah, I like that way.
That channel is between you and God. It's not between you and the preacher or you and a third party, So you have your own experiences in your own way with God.
I like that way of looking at it.
That's my 2 cents.
You said before that you didn't think you'd get as far as, like you've gotten further than you thought you would in this comedy sort of venture that you're on. I'm curious to know, like, yeah, you never thought you'd get this far, I think is the way you phrased it.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, the psychic lady said, oh, you're going to be successful at it. But in my head, I'm like, this woman's crazy. She just wants $60.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can take it though, because for me,
You got to pay him first.
if it does work out, this is, like the best $60 spent on motivation, right? But when she said my first set was going to go well and it went well, right? Well, she said this thing I was going to be good at and my first set went well. I was like, well, let's see if everything else she said is going to be true. So with every gig that went well, she gave me more hope and motivation. And so, I've just gone in 110% and it's been amazing. No regret. The best decision I would have made is going to the psychic lady. And I think for me, that is a godly experience that I had. Like I was led through my sister and through whatever miracles that happened, I was led to that moment, man. And it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, I love that. And so, but I guess now having gotten, because I suppose for the audience that don't know you, that are listening to this and are getting to know you through this podcast, you've been doing spots on TV, you've been doing lots of radio. Like you're sort of reaching an echelon of comedy that, a lot of people strive for is to, build up that influence and social currency, I suppose, through popular media and mainstream media, which is amazing that that's happening for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision for like where you want to go? Like, like a private sort of like a vision board even? Or like,
Man,
this is what
I
wanna
do have a
achieve.
vision board. Yeah, definitely. And my goal has always been, I want to sell out one-man shows and perform my one-man show like at an arena level. That's the level I want to get to. And so, like, I have a different approach now. I get up, I enjoy the process because it's not a race. It's a marathon for me, right? So I enjoy the process now, and I'm patient. and I'm kind to myself and I have time for people around me, and I'm not as like, when is the next spot that's going to potentially, when do I get to do an arena? Like, I don't have that sort of anxiety now. I'm more chilled, you know. I just know whatever to be would be, right? And so I just put in, like, I love what I do, and I think when you love what you do, it will show in your work, and it will get you in certain spaces that would elevate you a little bit higher to get you closer to that main goal, you know. But you're operating from a place of calm, from a place of fun, and not like a place of fear. So for me, that's been the major change in the way I do things. And since I started doing it that way, yeah, I've gotten on TV. Recently, I filmed a reality TV show called Hunted on Channel 10. I don't know if you watch that.
No, I don't watch
Hunted
that.
is cool. So
But I saw some clips.
yeah, so the way it works is you've got 19 fugitives. We rob a bank and we go on the run, and the hunters...
rob a bank? For
yeah,
real?
yeah, for real. Bank of Ballarat for just under $1 million. And then we go on the run, and the hunters have to piece together our connections and where we're at and try to find us, right?
Nice.
And, you know,
So it's like a game show.
yeah, if you last 20 days, you win 100 grand. We lasted 17 days and we got caught. So we were very close, but...
Damn it.
You know, like that experience itself has elevated me
3
a little.
days.
Yeah.
3 days.
I know. I try to move on from that part. So I don't remember that I lost 100 grand. So that part elevated me a little bit, you know, the being on TV. And I get recognized, like at my gym, someone will stare at me and then they'll go, "Hey man, are you from Hunted?" I go, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I remember I was taking my dog for a walk around my area, and the dog did a shit, and I was like, oh, I gotta pick up this shit. But then as I was picking it up, I heard someone bringing out their bin, and I went, oh no, the person whose nature strip this is gonna be like, you know, what the hell are you doing, letting your dog shit on my front strip? But the thing is, that's for the public, and that's what the dogs are supposed to do. That's where they're supposed to shit, right?
Yeah, you pick it up,
Yeah.
right? You picked
So
it up.
I had that worry in my head, and I was like, oh man. And so he looked at me, and he goes, no way. And I was like, sorry? And he goes, Hazel. And he starts yelling, Hazel, come outside now. And then he looks at me and he goes, Joe? And I was like, yes. I go, oh, how you doing, man? And he goes, good. I said, do I know you? He goes, no, you don't know me. And he goes, Hazel, quick. I was standing there with dog shit in my hand going, this was like a week ago, and I'm going, what the hell's going on, you know? And this girl, she's probably about 13 years old, wearing like a pink onesie, no shoes, comes running out. She's like, what? You're making me come out with no shoes on? He's like, Hazel, you're not going to believe this. It's Joe from Hunted. And then I go, oh, okay, it's from Hunted. So then I started talking to them, and I'm like, oh, I live on the other side. They're like, you're not going to believe this. We're watching Hunted right now. And, you know, we left it at the part where you're driving to the comics lounge. We didn't know if you're going to get caught or not. And I was like, oh, okay, well, obviously the show's over. That's why I'm walking around with a dog. You know, I'm not just casually walking my dog around picking up dog shit while the hunters are chasing me. So, you know, that was pretty cool. So I get recognized like that.
That's
and we had a
cool.
bit of a chat. And,
Hey.
you know.
Hazel.
Yeah. Come out
That's
now.
cute, man. That's cute.
Yeah, it's good fun. I don't mind stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a reflection of the hard work you've put in, and
For real.
you know, and I like that. You know, we always want to get to certain platforms to get recognized, and you know, so people can come to our shows and stuff like that, so we can sell tickets.
So you can keep doing the thing that you love doing.
Yeah,
It's like a circular.
revolving door,
Yeah.
right? And so when it works, it's great.
Yeah.
But most people go, oh, I'm getting recognized too much. This is annoying. And I'm like, this is what you signed up for.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
if you know that in advance, then it helps.
Yeah.
You know? And then maybe if it does get annoying one day for some reason, maybe there's a little bit of a privacy, like maybe too close, like lady before, like you felt like
Oh,
she
yeah,
was
that lady is
proximity
too
alert.
close.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
like,
so funny,
there's
man.
gonna be a kiss on the cheek.
Dude, Asians are so funny.
They
man.
are, man.
I'll tell you this,
They're
man.
so funny,
Me
man.
and my friends, my African friends, we're sitting down having lunch, and we'll see this Chinese tourist, and they'll walk by and they'll just stare at us, and we'll go, that's weird. Why are they staring at us, you know? And then they'll walk off, and they'll stop, and they'll stare at us, and then they'll come back. They'll come back, and one of them will go, hello, picture? And we go, yeah, okay. And then they'll just take pictures of us,
Yeah.
and then they'll walk off.
Yeah.
And we're always wondering, like, what the hell is that? But, you know, we're wondering if there's like they go back home to China and they're, look, black people are just roaming around and enjoying coffee. Melbourne's the place to be.
Yeah.
It's so weird,
That's
man.
funny.
Treat
Yeah.
us like animals in a zoo. And I'm
We
just
had
like,
this
what the
girl
fuck?
once, here, just come up to us mid-recording,
Yeah.
like this, and she Asian girl, walks right up to us and goes, "Excuse me, can I get a picture with you? And we're like, right now? And she's like, yeah. And so we just stop and we stand in front of the sign, take a picture with her.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, she goes, oh, can you sign this release form?
No
It's
way.
for my university project that I need.
Wow.
And my mate here, he wants to be like pretty incognito, the
Yeah.
guy that I was having on the podcast that day. I mean, he doesn't like talking about things he wants to talk about, but he don't want to put his signature on something he don't know where it's going. And so listen, I was like, I'll sign for him. It's okay.
Yeah.
And she's like, but he needs to sign. I said, listen, tell your lecturers he signed.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. And she said, no, I have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
At least she asked if she can take a picture with you. It's weird when someone goes, can I take a picture? And you go, yeah, and they just take a picture of you. And then you're just like,
What are you gonna do
and
with
then
that?
they just walk off and you're like, that's going to be in someone's wank bank for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Actually, I would love to be in someone's wank bank.
Well, I mean, every single person you've dated, you probably did make it to their wank bank if you think about it.
True.
So yeah, you've been.
If you've ever rubbed
And that's
one
what
out
you'd
to Louis-
prefer. You wouldn't want to be one on strangers' wank bags. I don't know if I want to be on strangers' wank bags, you know? You probably will be, man, as you keep doing the podcast. They'll be, oh, the way, Louis does his podcast. You never know.
You know what's really funny? When I released the first episode of my podcast, I had this woman that I'm friends with text me. And she goes, your voice is doing things to my ovaries. She said
That's so funny. Did you tell her, I've already got a kid, move on. I don't want any more problems.
I was like, that is the best feedback. Can you please put that on, can you give me a Google review that says that?
Yeah.
You'll take whatever you can get. As an up-and-coming comedian, you would have been able to relate. I think I was talking yesterday to Tom. I just want a comment, even if it's a hater. I'll take whatever I can get. The ideal thing as a podcaster is I love that episode. I love the way you talk about this. I love that guest that you had on. I love the way that you guys talked about that and laughed about that and riffed about that. But if someone says to me, your voice made me wet, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, every compliment is a compliment, right?
Yeah. It's not the one I wanted or expected, but I'll take it.
But, you got to be okay with getting negative comments as well.
For sure.
And not taking them personal. Constructive ones are good, but even if they're not constructive, if they're negative, sure. You want to delete it? Sure. But eventually, I think you get to a stage where there's so many of them and deleting them, it will take up a lot of your time. Yeah.
You've got to hire someone on Fiverr for that.
Yeah. So you just leave it, right? But I think if you're someone who's creating work and putting it out to the public for viewership, whether they're going to like it or not is up to them. And whether they can comment or not is up to them. I mean, you can ban them from your page if you want, but if it's open for them to comment on and they comment and it's negative, it just is what it is, I think don't get too caught up on the fact that it's negative.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's part of the game.
Yeah,
that
you've
you're playing.
made it public.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go do something that's a bit more private.
I was saying this to Tom yesterday. I was saying it's interesting because Joe Rogan's the biggest one in this kind of format that I'm playing in, right? He's the benchmark for everyone else to want to get to. And so I was on YouTube the other day, saw one of his clips, and it wasn't like his best work, but I watched the clip and I was like, oh, I never spend time in the comments section. I'm going to go read what the comments are. Everyone was just roasting. Joe sold out. That's a shit guest. This podcast sucks. This is it. And I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and for folds and folds of scrolls, it's just hate comments. I'm thinking, but this guy, Spotify paid $200 million for this guy's podcast. And so it's almost like a correlation between success and hate.
Yeah. It's part of it, right? I don't know if you watched Joe's the first 10 podcasts he's ever done of his show.
I've never seen those.
Oh, you got to watch them.
Are they good?
I highly encourage you to watch them.
That's
Not
homework.
because they're good, but because it shows you where he was, where he started. And mate, it's just him. This is way better than where he started. You think I'm laughing? You think I'm joking? But you watch it, and it's just him talking to his computer. He's just talking to his computer, and he's on live, and he's talking, and they're recording it. Brian Redban is behind him, helping him. How do you turn this thing on? It's 5 minutes. 5 minutes of the camera on of him trying to work out what's this for, or how many people are watching. Oh shit, this is like a whole club, 100 people. That's pretty good,
That's good.
Yeah, so that's the first episode. Damn. Second episode, same thing.
I should be live streaming this.
Yeah, and then slowly, before you know it, it starts taking shift, into what it is now. But it's always good to watch the first few episodes because it gives you an idea of the beginning. And
Do you ever go back and watch your own like first stand-up gigs?
Yeah,
that
I
you
go watch
recorded?
them. Yeah, only to delete them because they're terrible. I'm like, gotta get rid of this evidence and that evidence. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do go back and I watch it, but I delete some of them.
Yeah.
The ones I enjoy going back and watching pictures that I posted or
Yep.
social media posts that I made, when I was in a different state of mind of the hustle and just to see where I was at, how I was thinking, and I go, man, I was definitely grinding,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think but we're probably getting towards the end of the recording.
Thank God, because my butt's starting to hurt from this chase.
I'm surprised that it's taken you so long to admit that.
Yeah, it's been nearly 2 hours.
My ass has been hurting for
Yeah, I saw you moving around. I'm like, itchy butt or sore butt?
Both.
Which one is it? It's from the pie.
When the dog's got an itchy ass, it's like that's what I was doing just
It's
there.
from the pies, man.
Yeah.
No, but thank you so much for having me.
And especially because I think I've only got a little bit of space left on this memory card.
Yeah, go for it.
So we might have to wrap it
No,
up.
this has been fun. I've enjoyed hanging out.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I ask all my guests is like any words of wisdom for someone who's like been following you or who's just meeting you for the first time. Like, I mean, there's been a lot. You've given us a lot of gratitude. Yeah, like this episode will be littered with great clips of you talking about going from really rags to riches, kind of.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's pretty fucking impressive, pardon my French.
I'm just be grateful, man. I don't know if I have any advice for anyone.
Yeah.
But just don't take life so seriously. Be grateful and just move on, man. Every day is a different day.
I love that.
Even if you have a shitty morning, the afternoon will probably be different.
For sure.
So it's like just hang in there and just keep working toward, I guess, just a better day, man. That's my only advice is don't take things so personal,
Man, that is good.
Don't take other people so serious as well. Don't take yourself seriously. When someone does something and they piss me off, I'm always like, man, something must have happened to you today that you're pissed off. It's nothing to do with me. I got nothing but love and I'm going to move on now. The only time I get on the defense guard is when someone is threatening or they put their hands on me. That's when I'm like a different person, But until then, I'm always like, man, just leave me alone. I'm walking away. Or when something tough happens, I always tell my partner, I always go, you know what? Tomorrow's another day, babe, Or I go, could have been worse. If you think about it, I always try to just see the better side of it,
Yeah, I think that comes easy to you as well. Like, easier than it does to other people.
I think so, yeah. If you've lived a hard life, then, there's small things don't break you because you're like, oh, I've had it worse.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Joe, it's been so awesome to have you.
Thanks for having me, man. This has been, quite fun.
An experience, yeah. Thank you for being part of the journey of the Lui Diaz podcast, taking a risk. I mean, not that I gave you any choice with that knife to your back,
Yeah,
but,
man.
Taking a risk.
I had to go get stitched up, still haven't. No, it's been fun, brother.
But
This is dope. Can't wait to see it grow.
Yeah.
Could be like the next Joe Rogan podcast.
Could be.
How awesome would that be, to have it here in Melbourne? You'll probably leave. You won't stay here. You'd piss off
I
to
would
somewhere.
travel.
I would travel. Where would you go? America. I knew it.
Yeah, I've done a few episodes with
Use
people
us
in
to
New
get
York.
big and then leave. Wow, that's your plan?
No, not to base myself there. Well, it just depends. Like I'm a Melburnian through and through. It's hard for me to admit that because I have a love-hate relationship with it, but mostly love. I think the pandemic sort of was pretty hard and I just started to dislike this place. But then, when I went overseas, shortly after the borders opened up, I realised that everyone started to feel like that about their own city, no matter where they were. I went to Europe and realised those people were sick of their own city. When I came back after 6 months in Europe, I was like, this is cool. And my ex called me up. We went there as a couple, but we broke up while we were in Europe. And then she called me up and she was like, so what do you think of Melbourne now that you've been overseas? Because I'd never been overseas before. And I was like, yeah, I took for granted how cool this city is.
Yeah.
And, now that I'm basing the podcast here, it will be very hard to break away. Like, say, if it becomes big, it's going to become big.
Yeah. I think home is just where the journey takes you, brother, If you need to stay here, you'll continue staying here.
I love
and
this
if
city,
the
man.
journey takes you to America for a period of a year where you get to interview and bring us some of the best stories, why not?
How cool would that
Because
be?
think about it, there's only 26 million people in Australia. There's over 300 million people in America.
That's true.
So you're
some
bound
wild-
to find way more interesting stories, interesting stories in America than here,
Yeah. I
So
keep
it's
meeting
like-
some interesting people, man.
Yeah.
You included.
I mean, yeah, thanks, man.
I
And
hope we
yeah,
can
there's
keep this
definitely
friendship.
interesting people here. Whoa. Friendship? What are you... this is a hostage situation. This is
I
not a
have-
friend. No,
people
I
can't
hope
see
so
the
too,
knife
man.
that I have.
I hope
I'm
so
on.
too.
Yeah.
I think, I'll go... After a podcast, you get to know the other person a bit more, and
That's
I
so
feel like
true.
you connect, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go grab coffee after this again?
Absolutely. Hey, listen. Today is the AFL Grand Final,
Yeah. There's so
And,
many people out and about.
and I thought, like, I'm seeing like the red theme that you've carried to the podcast today with the red Jordans
Thanks,
and the red
man.
hoodie. I thought maybe,
The Swans?
yeah,
Nah, man.
no.
I'm a West Coast Eagles supporter.
Yeah.
But...
So you hate the Swans?
Hold on. But some of the best games West Coast has been with the Swans.
Yeah.
In the finals as well, winning by 1 point,
For real?
losing by 1 point.
Yeah.
It's been hectic. But
I remember those.
since moving to Melbourne and meeting my partner Melissa, she's a hardcore Bulldogs supporter.
Oh yeah.
So she's like, baby, we're a Bulldogs fan now. I'm like, as long as it gets me dinners, I'll be a Bulldogs fan. But really, at heart, when I see West Coast, I'm like, come on, the Eagles.
Yeah. No, you can. Yeah. I'm a North Melbourne supporter.
North
So,
Melbourne,
Yeah.
where do you live?
I live in Ascot
Collingwood. You're going for the wrong team.
Valley. Yeah.
Ascot Valley.
No,
You
it's
don't have a
good.
team there. You got to go for North Melbourne.
Yeah, but look, it's been awesome having you on, man. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
brother.
you taking a risk and coming out here and
Yeah.
not knowing if you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
But it's
All
been so
good, man.
special, and thanks to the audience for sticking with us.
Definitely.
We might have to wait a few weeks before this one's released.
Yeah, no rush, man. You
We
get
gotta
it
pl-
out when you get it out.
We got to plug your show now. This will be in retrospect because it's on the 5th.
After my show, yeah.
Yeah.
This will come out after my show. But
Yep.
if anyone wants to see me perform, you just look me up. If you just even Google
Gonna tag ya.
joewhitecomedian.com, it will take you to my page. And
Not Joe Black or
Yeah.
Joe Dirt.
yeah, not Joe White. Look up that. No. It will take you to my page where you can find all my handles. But otherwise, it's just Joe White on socials.
Awesome.
Awesome, brother.
Thanks for being here, bro.
Yeah. Thank you. We're done. Yes. Round of applause from everyone. There's one meth head.
Yeah.
One meth head is like, you guys were great.